anticipation screen has commenced.
ThorZaIN trying to stave off elimination. All right, here we go in the top left-hand corner of Xel'Naga Fortress. We have our green Zerg player hailing from Team Evil Geniuses. That is IdrA.
And over at the right side of the map, in the red from the Team Mouse, it's ThorZaIN.
All right, so ThorZaIN needs to try and make a comeback here, and you know, this is a very, very good map for heavy mech play, just slow positional movements through the middle of the map. A lot of players love PFing that third towards the middle, especially because the Xel'Naga tower in the middle actually expires at about the 5-minute mark, so it's very important to have a lot of map presence. Siege tanks, a good air component, can do that very well.
Well, the big thought behind what ThorZaIN was thinking when he was choosing this map, and what a lot of Terrans think, is that on this map it's very, very difficult for a Zerg to take and hold a third base. And so yeah, if ThorZaIN can keep IdrA to just 2 bases, that makes it pretty easy from the Terran perspective. So, you know, we'll see if he has a plan for doing that. I'm sure he does.
We could see something totally off the wall as well. I remember that during the qualifiers, Maro was actually, he's playing a Zerg player, so he's playing as Terran, and ended up just going dual reactored Hellions. So he had 2 factories with reactored Hellions, just overran his opponent. His opponent was making roaches, but it didn't matter. He had like 50 Hellions. So you have roaches, you have buildings, LOL. Here's a lot of Hellions.
That's true. Now it looks like ThorZaIN putting down a gas after the barracks for a very standard Terran opening, no sort of gasless expand for him this game. Patch first, of course, for IdrA. Would you expect anything else in the TVZ? I certainly wouldn't. And it really is, you know, the best opening in TVZ in a lot of cases anyway.
Not at all. And ThorZaIN not really that kind of player who's known for just opening with huge amounts of SCV Marine pushes, trying to punish early expansions. Just wants to play that nice, safe, slow
paced game.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. You know, there was, with ThorZaIN too, I always wondered what his name meant. And, you know, I don't know Swedish at all really, right? So I was like, is that like Thor's son or something? I mean, is it like the god of thunder and lightning? And he's like, no, it just doesn't really mean anything. I just thought it sounded cool. So, oh, all right. So there you go. There's the background of ThorZaIN's name if anyone's curious.
Actually makes me respect him that much more. So here we have it, and SCV is ready to make its way into IdrA's base. Sees the quick expansion and the timing on that coming up. One Marine barrier to take map control and may catch this drone. That drone's still going to make its way over to the ThorZaIN's base.
Yep, it'll escape. Oh, but it won't escape the second Marine, I don't think. Nope. A little bit of stutter stepping, and that drone is going to the drone afterlife. Goodbye. Goodbye, drone.
So IdrA doesn't really pick up on anything that's at the... Oh, wait, did he actually see the reactor at the last second?
Oh, did he?
Did.
Wow.
Just barely.
Well, you know, you get that like split second of vision after your unit dies too, and I think ThorZaIN put that reactor down a little bit too early. So IdrA did see it, although, you know, he had that Overlord right there too. I think that may have actually been where the vision came from too.
Very true.
Yeah, because he didn't get up the ramp, so.
Yep, I agree.
That makes sense. Ah, it's 10 a.m.
A couple of Marines are sitting to the side, though. They are going to be able to intercept the Overlord in case it decides to sacrifice itself again for some scouting information. Command center coming up for ThorZaIN as well, so pretty expected reactor Hellion expand.
Yeah. No kidding here. We'll see if IdrA decides to go for some sort of early Roach Warren as well to kind of counteract this, or if he's just going to go into his standard Mutiling. We'll have to see some Zerglings coming up the ramp to take a peek. Just got to make sure that there is a factory there with the reactor on it, and they do see that, so IdrA knows exactly what's going on now. And I believe he also caught a glimpse of that command center too, so yeah, he has no doubt in IdrA's mind at all what ThorZaIN is doing right now.
And let's take a look here as IdrA putting down 1, now 2 spine crawlers at the front to prevent any Hellions from running by. The positioning is kind of interesting. A lot of players will build that back towards the mineral line, but he's putting it over to the left, the second spine crawler that is, to prevent units from running around the side, and he'll probably just block the ramp with these Lings and this Queen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, IdrA going for the more kind of defensive way to sort of try to counteract the Hellions. You know, instead of being aggressive with roaches, he's just going to put down some spine crawlers, put his queens in a good position. And as you can see, ThorZaIN having a really tough time getting in there to do any sort of damage at all. I mean, with 4 Hellions, maybe, you know, he might try to bust in behind the mineral line. You do see some Terrans try that, but most of them these days have realized that it's just not worth it to sacrifice the Hellions for maybe, you know, like 1 or 2 drones. Better to have that map control instead.
Sure, definitely. And yeah, so it looks like ThorZaIN's playing very cautious with these, as you mentioned. IdrA, on the other hand, he has circling speed coming up, and he's adding a couple more gas into the mix. Quite a few lings coming down, though, so it looks like he'll want to chase off those units here in a bit. 2 more Hellions have joined the fray, and finally we have a switchback of the factory to the back. Also, Step Back is on the way, but it's only about halfway done.
It's a little bit surprising, going up to 6 Hellions there. Usually the standard is 4 at the most before you switch things over and start going into, you know, kind of the next tech route here. But ThorZaIN getting a couple extra Hellions, getting just that much little map presence. And it's nice too because you can keep 4 Hellions for creep tumors 4 or 5, and as you can see, send other Hellions out to scout around the map, look for expansions, things like that. Looks like he will be moving into pretty standard Marine tank. Yep, there's siege mode right now. First tank is on the way. Stim getting pretty close to done, and the lair going up for IdrA as well. So yeah, I think we're going to see a pretty standard Marine tank versus Mutiling game here.
Yep, no real surprise out of IdrA at all. Like you were mentioning, lair tech is coming up. He'll be banking resources here. Already has quite a bit of gas saved up, so he'll be able to produce a nice little Mutaflak when the time comes. But ThorZaIN, on the other hand, building an engineering bay on the low ground there, going to prevent units actually from swinging around and making their way back into the main, so closes off an attack path. Nice building positioning, but ThorZaIN moving right up to Marine tank.
And it looks like IdrA's kind of spreading his creep down to the south of his natural expansion rather than out across towards ThorZaIN. So that's a way to kind of start spreading your creep without kind of letting the Hellions pick off a couple creep tumors here and there. So that's a nice little response by IdrA to kind of avoid losing those early creep tumors. And you know, if he expands down towards that too, that's going to be a good place to take a third as well. And
this is a really big push coming from ThorZaIN. He's got a lot of Marines in a tank with this as well, and siege mode has finished, so he will be able to give himself a pretty good position, picking away at those spine crawlers, forcing some lanes to react.
Yep. Oh, IdrA moving a spine crawler there, and ThorZaIN jumps on it. That spine crawler is actually not going to do too much damage at all. It goes down. IdrA kind of throwing away a spine crawler there. That's not going to help defend the bush. ThorZaIN scans, sees what he wants to see, kills a creep tumor too. And IdrA, you know, he does have a good amount of lings and banelings. Yeah, and ThorZaIN's just going to pull right back and turn around. Good decision there. I think, you know, at the very least, if he would have been able to win that, he would have lost nearly everything to do it. So
yeah, got a lot of free damage, and having these Hellions up at the front with the Zergling there makes it look like he's still establishing his presence in the middle of the map. Probably going to force a few more lings in a bit. And of course, IdrA, it's still going to prevent him from expanding. Oh, but he sneaks one drone by. I take that back. A little scouting mission, a spy mission for this drone, and he does get by to put down a hatchery.
Very nicely done by IdrA there. 7 mutas on the way, and you know what? ThorZaIN does not have a single turret up at his main. He's going to have to do all the defense with just Marines, and that can be a little bit difficult sometimes. So we'll have to see how he can defend against it. He's completely walled off his natural supply depots too. That's
Oh, yeah. No, Pingies are a big advocate of this. Says that this makes a huge difference, a lot larger than you would expect. Oh, the mutas are out on the field now, and the Hellions are going to have to back away.
They're in a heap of trouble.
And there's enough Marines here, though, with combat. No, not combat shield. I apologize. Combat shield just about to finish up with Stim that are going to be able to move those units away. Do we have missile turrets coming up? Yes, it says there's 2 of them.
Yep, and ThorZaIN does have enough Marines in the main to chase those mutas away. IdrA's going to try the natural, but, you know, there's plenty of Marines there as well. But, you know, now this is going to kind of force ThorZaIN to kind of stay back, be a little bit more defensive before he moves out. Curious to see if he's going to try to take a third first, or if he's going to do some sort of push. He does have that command center almost finished here, so I'd imagine he's probably going to take that third in front of his main, you know, kind of like the pocket base, I guess you could call it.
Yeah. I definitely think so. I mean, just throwing down a planetary fortress there is so good for a Terran player. It's not that big of an investment. Once that gets established, you can build such a defensive perimeter with your siege tanks around that. All right, so there we have it. Looks like ThorZaIN going to do just that, pushing out into the third. The mutas for IdrA, though, are running around the main still, but the Marines should be able to react in time.
Yeah, IdrA checking this stuff out. ThorZaIN barely gets his Marines there to defend against those mutas. IdrA's like, well, maybe I can do a little bit of damage to that command center. But nope, ThorZaIN was there in time. So both of these guys starting on their thirds. IdrA's has been going for a little bit right now, so he's got, you know, that tiny economic lead. But of course, mules help to make that a little bit less of so for a Terran player.
And here comes the Mutaflock once again, running its way over to the right. See how many are on the field? 16 at the moment. So both players really have been macroing unchecked until now. 22 more lanes joining us, a bunch of banelings coming up as well. So maybe IdrA's going to try and pull some units away and flank or move up with a big attack.
They've stayed pretty even on supply too right now. I mean, neither one has really gotten more than a little bit ahead here. Oh, IdrA moving into the main with some mutas, killing a missile turret. He does see the other one. He's going to take out this refinery. That's going to help as well. Some Marines stimming in. I don't think that's enough Marines to handle those mutas. Yeah, IdrA knows it. He's just going to take out these Marines, and suddenly ThorZaIN could take a little bit of damage here. Oh, but IdrA does pull back. Both of these guys just so careful about every little thing in this game.
Yeah, playing very patiently. ThorZaIN's really no surprise. I mean, honestly, IdrA as well. I mean, he just wants to take a big macro advantage in this game, pin his opponent to very few bases, and then just outmass him when the time comes. But down here at the bottom left-hand corner, we see IdrA putting up yet another hatchery, so his expansions are moving along quite well, as expected.
And, you know, the interesting thing is ThorZaIN, oh no, whoops, losing a tank there. Drawing a stim a little bit at the same time. But one thing you'll notice is that ThorZaIN really has not been putting too much pressure on IdrA at all. Oh, is he going to walk over the Pearl Banelings? Oh, man.
Oh, really close there, but doesn't bite quite yet. We'll see if he has the presence of mind to throw down a scan. Oh, he's moving up a defensive position with siege tanks, which means he may move his Marines right in between on top of those.
I think we might see exactly that. You know, no medevacs out right now at all for ThorZaIN either. So I don't know if this is going to work against IdrA. We'll have to see. Muta's doing a little bit of harassment to the natural. IdrA pulling back, being again pretty safe. Oh, the Marines are moving towards the Banelings. Oh, he gets a couple of them, but some do sneak past. You know, I thought for a second IdrA was like, well, is that enough Marines to really warrant using on it?
Right.
But, you know, the scan did go down as well. I don't know if those Banelings were on the very edge of the scan either, so he did get a couple at least. But now ThorZaIN should be aware that IdrA's trying this strategy, so we're going to see a lot more scans out of the Spoon Terran, I think, in the near future.
Absolutely. ThorZaIN already a very cautious Terran player, and you're exactly right. He is going to go ahead and throw down more scans, but here it is. IdrA wants to move in. He's got a lot of units, but there was a very good tank spread. The Banelings have actually gone down without doing too much damage, but there are still a significant amount of mutas remaining.
Oh, the tank spread is good, but so many mutas out right now for EG IdrA. He does actually have enough to just power through these Marines.
Wow. And IdrA is actually taking a huge advantage in this game. He's up by 73 supply. You're absolutely right. This planetary fortress coming under fire from these mutas as well.
Yep. Yeah, IdrA's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on ThorZaIN right now. I mean, this third base, you can see ThorZaIN scrambling to throw down some more turrets, scrambling to get units there in time.
A little group of Marines over at the bottom left-hand corner trying to do a little bit of damage, but at the same time, IdrA queuing up outside of ThorZaIN's third. Looks like he's going to play a little bit more passively until he can get these mutas back. So ThorZaIN did a little bit of damage with his recon group of Marines, but it's not going to be enough. Yeah,
I think he killed looks like about a dozen or so there, according to the units lost tab. But, you know, killing that big army is going to put IdrA so far ahead. You know, now is the time where he can really expand comfortably and just kind of chill out a little bit. He has got so many mutalisks, 4 more on the way and already 31 out on the field right now. That is a lot of mutas, man. Actually, we're going to be up to 37 mutalisks after these 6 spawn.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, he's almost getting to the point where he's just going to max out on mutas, which is a little bit gross, but a little bit amazing as well.
Well, that's the thing, too. I mean, IdrA knows that ThorZaIN's going to have a hard time producing enough Marines to counteract this, really.
And this is really smart as well. He's poking through the supply depot wall, and you know, ThorZaIN loses any one of those supply depots, which he has one at the top. It's going to allow Lings to have such better mobility. That pack of mutas working its way through the bottom left-hand corner, though, and even 1, 2, 3 missile turrets not going to be enough to stop this muta pack.
Now the first Thor is almost out for ThorZaIN, and you know, with that, that'll help him quite a bit against those mutalisks, of course. But you know, the more Thors he's making, that's going to be the less tanks he has as well. So that's kind of something to think. That is so many mutalisks, man.
It really is.
Ridiculous amount. Oh, he gets the drop too.
Very nice play out of IdrA. He's going to make his way to the top right and just outright camp production. There's really not much that ThorZaIN can do about that.
IdrA, again, doing almost the same thing he did against Artis, where he's just reading his opponent so well. He's able to control the game to such a huge level. There he does have to pull back because of the Thor. A lot of those mutas at yellow health right now. And he's got to be careful here.
And,
man.
The Thor actually doing quite a bit of damage.
No kidding.
A lot of those mutas in the red, but he didn't kill many of them. Marines are going to make that look a lot scarier, though. Those mutas are going to have to watch out for any large groups of Marines, but there's just still so many of them.
I know, he is down to just 25 mutas, so he lost about 12 mutas in all this engagement that we've seen here in the last, 30 seconds or so. So the muta count has been dropping. Well, we'll see though what happens. I mean, IdrA's still putting a lot of pressure on his opponent. He can always free up the supply too by losing mutas to switch into something that's a little bit better late game as well. So
could just swarm lings at this point as well. So let's see. ThorZaIN's trying to put up another command center. He still does have a very defensive position. Oh, he's got to watch out. Okay, dropping down those Marines in the front in time. Mutalisk did not pick those off, but they will probably be able to deny the command center if they want to.
New tank. And IdrA, still almost under supply ahead, and it looks like he might be starting to go for it. There he goes. All the mutas coming in, plenty of Zerglings and Banelings. Well, oh, but the Thors get huge hits on the mutas. Can he magic box in time? It looks like he just barely can, but again, those mutas took so much damage, but it looks like IdrA is going to come out on top in this game.
Yeah, certainly. The mining down at the natural is denied. ThorZaIN is back by 100 supply now. IdrA really running away. Economic damage to the max. Has 44 workers killed this entire game.
He does need to be still a little bit careful here. He's down to 14 mutas. He's dropped by about 20 Mutalisks in the last about 2 minutes here. So you can just see the strength of these Marines, and of course the Thor shots too helped quite a bit.
And the 5th and 6th for IdrA coming up as well, taking, just kind of overrunning the map with expansions. He's queuing up another huge group of Zerglings to make another assault.
Time, man. I mean, at this point, ThorZaIN's just not going to be able to keep up with the economy of IdrA. I mean, IdrA's 100 supply ahead. He's just building up that army, remaxing, and there's just nothing ThorZaIN can do to really kind of hold this off, I think.
Yeah, he's trying to produce as many Marines as he can, but then IdrA can just pump out a ton of Banelings and overrun a pretty large force with that.
Here he goes.
ThorZaIN tries to catch those mutas unawares. He has nice positioning with a siege tank on the high ground. Even gets a good engagement by forcing those lings through a tiny little choke point, but the mutas on the high ground take out the siege tank.
He's got enough, no problem at all. ThorZaIN with just a few Marines remaining, more reinforcements coming in for EG IdrA. I would say expect the GG in the very near future, Cas Pajamas.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Tanking just a handful of Marines coming out at a time right now. And IdrA's starting to flood in yet more and more Mutalisks. These production structures are being camped. ThorZaIN he is getting himself very good engagements. He's backing his way into tiny little choke points and making his units as effective as possible, but IdrA's macro is just astounding at the moment.
Is that, IdrA can just really throw units at ThorZaIN until he dies right now. I mean, it doesn't even really matter. I mean, you can see the reinforcements outside the natural of ThorZaIN as well. I mean, still about 100 supply down for ThorZaIN. He doesn't have really much mining at all going on, just oversaturated at his third base. He's never going to be able to really make that fourth work that he put up. It is a planetary, but he's not really going to be able to get any SCVs there. So, I don't know. I mean, IdrA's just got the advantage. But again, you can see how patient these players are.
Yeah, very much so. IdrA knows he's at a big advantage, but he doesn't want to throw it away. He doesn't want to commit everything and give ThorZaIN the opportunity to come back into this. Well, SCV going down to the bottom left-hand corner, or the 6 o'clock position rather, does see sees a ton of drones mining, so already knows that IdrA has had several subsequent bases up.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that it is easy, actually, to throw away a lead in ZVT if you are the Zerg player. One bad engagement, suddenly Terran has the advantage again. So IdrA does need to be careful, and flying those mutas over those Marines is not the definition of careful, but he does pull back just in time. And ThorZaIN, he just does not have enough to handle this. Here come all the Banelings and Zerglings. Plenty of mutas as well. And there's nothing to heal those Marines from Stim either. I mean, IdrA's just going to be able to chase ThorZaIN right back to this base, take it out. And that may be the end of the Spoon Terran.
The Spoon Terran may very well be on his last legs, repairing the planetary fortress quite well, but now the mutas are just going to take out every SCV that's around. ThorZaIN throws down the GG. IdrA has advanced into the quarterfinals
Terran
of IPL 3.
What? Yeah, so IdrA again, I mean, we saw yesterday against